From a queen to a king, Great King Rat revisited on Crown Jewels. Greetings and salutations. Welcome back to PLD Projects Crown Jewels. I'm your host, PLD. This week, Great King Rat revisited. That's right, if you've been under a rock the past couple of weeks, we have shifted back away from our chronological view, stepping away mid-Flash Gordon, to go back and revisit Queen 1 because of the release of the Queen 1 Collector's box set. And we have a lot of new songs to listen to see if any of them can upend our current crown jewel, our current champion that's in our playlist. And this week we are talking about Great King Rat. But first off, if you're here, you're liking this, you liked this stuff before, if you forgot to do it, like, subscribe, leave comments. Let us help the fight the almighty algorithm. Join the Patreon, patreon.com/PLD Projects. Got some early content for you guys there. Facebook chat. Got a lot of cool things going on there. So, if you can and you want to, it'd be greatly appreciated. If not, I get it. There's always other ways to share and get this community going. Now, usually I give you notes, quotes, history, all that stuff, but I already did that once. I'm not going to do it again. You can go back into the playlist and find the podcast for Great King Rat, where we went over all of the original stuff, including the 4 versions we first tracked down. And if you don't remember that, Lane Lea Demo was my least favorite. Live with the Rainbow 1974 was my next. The album version was next. And the crown jewel that's looking to defend its title, the BBC session from December 3rd, 1974. Now, what do you mean by this? Well, what we do here on this podcast, if this is your first time here, we listen to all the different versions of the track that are out there, officially released, and some unofficially released if we need to go that far, and we decide which is the best version of the crown jewel version. We rank them, we rate them, we talk about them. Now, like I said, I did all that before, so we're only looking at the new versions and to see where they are going to slide into the rankings and whether one of them can take out the BBC version from December 3rd of 1974. 4 new versions we have the 2024 mix, we have the Lane Lea Demo 2024 mix, we have the Lane Lea Take 1 with guide vocal, and we have the almighty backing track. So let's get right to it. If you look into the show notes, I have a link to a Google Doc, which will give you links to YouTube versions of all the new versions, and I also chipped in some of the older versions as well, especially the crown jewel version, the album version, and the Lane Lea Demo version, because I want you to listen to those potentially before you listen to the 2024 mixes so you can tell the vast differences. But mostly we're going to concentrate, like I said, on the new tracks. Now, for new listeners, I will give one general note on Queen, or the retitled Queen 1 box set. Back when Queen recorded their first album, they were on borrowed time. They had to use the Trident Studio setup. They were mixed differently. The band really was not very happy with the ultimate mix that was released in 1973, especially the drum sounds, because they had to do it the way the Trident set it up. They had to use Trident's kits. It was never a satisfactory conditions for Queen. So they always talked about trying to go back and do something with it, and they did with the Queen 1 box set. That's one of the major draws. They remixed the entire album, not just like remastering. They actually went back, punched up all the drum sounds, punched up some of the guitar sounds, and really made it into what they wanted it to sound like. Now, for the Lane Lea demos, originally in 2011, they released as part of a CD release of the catalog. They were sourced from a personal acetate from Brian May, which was the only version that was available as far as anybody knew. Well, they found the masters, I guess, sometime between then and now, because the new 2024 mixes are sourced from the masters. So this is why, very different, or at least quality-wise, I believe, from an acetate sourcing. So that's why they did that as well. So what we're going to do is I'm going to tell you to pause right here, go listen to the album version and the 2024 mix. You'll come back, and then we'll talk about it. And we're back. Welcome back. Well, this track, if you listen to the original album version, even the 2011 remastering of it, this is definitively a statement on how the sound was back then. It's very muddied, the drums are very flat sounding. There's a kind of a muddiness to Freddie's voice. This 2024 remix probably served Great King Rat better than any of the other ones, quite honestly. Or at least it's up in the upper echelon for sure. If you listen to it right away, the drums are much more centered. and are far more crisp and thunderous. Roger drums sound like they were recorded yesterday. Very powerful, very much a great addition to the song. The basis for the song, the bed for the song is really there. So much you can hear some specific percussion throughout. I get to hear more of the cowbell. I got the guitar solo. I get to hear a little bit more of that coming through. And that's the best part of these 2024 mixes. I'm hearing things that were in the mix. Generally, they were in the recording, but they didn't really come out to play until you got the 2024 remix done. Freddie's voice specifically, much more clearer, sounds more powerful. Like it sounds like it almost, I know it's the same take. It is the same take. I've compared them, but it just sounds better, to be completely honest. A lot of grit in his voice, a lot of energy in his voice, a lot of meanness in his voice that works for the song. It's great. Specifically, another thing, I heard some more vocals. Freddie saying dirty old man during the second guitar solo bit. It's very faint, even in the background of the 2024 mix. I never had an inkling of it in the original mix. And I love at the ending, we get a complete ending of drums. It doesn't fade like the track does on the album version. Now we have the complete Roger pounding the drums until the final boom, boom, boom at the end. So, yeah, that's the 2024 mix. I wonder where that's going to fit, but I know for sure I like it better than the 1973 or even the 2011 remastering for it, for sure. All right, let's listen to the next version. That's going to be the 2024 Lane Lea Demo. Like I said, I gave you both. You can listen to the 2011 version from the acetate and the 2024 to compare. But you pause me, listen, come back. We shall talk about it. And we're back. Now, if you listen to the original episode, I already talked about the performances, but this is just the mix is what I'm looking at this time. The acetate fades in. This does not. We get the right crystal clear beginning right from the get-go. Their acoustic guitar parts are much more clear as acoustic guitar parts. They're not muddied next to the rest of the electric stuff. It's very crisp sounding. Now it's very powerful. And I love Roger's drumming in the middle section. Some nice fills that are really accentuated with the 2024 mix. It's definitely, again, much cleaner version. I'm not sure why it took them so long to find the masters. I mean, I guess the Queen archive could be a little bit of a mess, it seems like, if Brian May's acetate was all they could source from for originally. I'm glad they found the masters, though, because listening to these Lane Lea demos, the 2024 mixes, is like listening to things I've never heard before. So I'm really glad we got this in the box set. And there we go. So, all right, next up, let's listen to a completely new-ish version. I say new-ish version because I'll mention it afterwards. You're going to take a listen to the Lane Lea Take 1 with guide vocal, which is released on the Queen Sessions disc, Queen 1 Sessions disc from the box set. It's basically a demo. It is exactly what it's titled to be. Take 1 from the Lane Lea Demo. So one of the original Queen recordings. Take a listen to that. Come back. We'll talk about it. And welcome back. Now, why did I say ish? Well, if you've listened to my episodes before, you'll know that occasionally I'll point out a convention demo. What I mean by that is that Greg Brooks, the Queen archivist, will often go to conventions and play tracks for fans there. They're supposed to be exclusive. And to try to prevent taping and selling and trading of all that sorts, they put a big property of Queen Productions vocal from Greg Brooks over all of the mixes. Basically, you listen to the song, and like every couple seconds, you'll hear property of Queen Productions, which is kind of unfortunate, but it is what they're trying to do to prevent piracy. I can understand it, I guess. But also, the convention demos are taped, basically somebody with a tape recorder, so they're never great quality. They're interesting to hear. They're always interesting to hear. Now, what does that have to do with this? Well, this was actually one of the convention demos. It was titled Take 1, which makes sense now, but it's definitely far more crystal clear getting to hear it this way. So throw out that old convention demo and listen to this version. Now, as far as it being a crown jewel goes, well, the fact that it says guide vocal will tell you everything. I don't really ever foresee a guide vocal being my crown jewel because Freddie's not really putting his all into it. It's basically just keeping time for the band. This is really more about the band finding their groove together. And this is very interesting for sure because it's Take 1. It's not an electric. It's basically Brian doing this all on acoustic for the most part. And that's really kind of cool to hear. It gives a very different sound than what we're used to because this is a very rockin', hard rockin' electric guitar song. So hearing it more acoustic is really kind of eye-opening to a degree. Freddie does play with a lot of sounds. The lyrics aren't quite finished. It's kind of funny, actually, it seems to be adding a guitar solo with his mouth at one point, kind of portraying what he thinks should be played there eventually so the band can listen back. It's really kind of educational and interesting to see it. It will not probably be a crown jewel, as a little spoiler there, but I think you definitely should give it a listen if you like this song, especially you get to hear it in its like embryonic stage. So it's really kind of cool. Really kind of cool. I do like that. All right, one more we're going to listen to before we close things out today. This one is going to be the backing track, which is they've been doing this in a lot of Queen product releases, basically releasing the whole album instrumentally or close to instrumentally. They do say backing track because there's some vocals there. But let's listen to that, come back, and we'll finish this thing out. And there you have it. Not much to say on this one. I will say a lot of times I will tell you, oh, you can hear so many different things in the background, things you wouldn't get to hear because they're buried by the vocals. Not really the case in this one. There are some more vocals because we have some backing vocals in there, but that isn't it. We also get some of Freddie's multi-track vocals that weren't considered like the lead vocals. So when Freddie harmonized with himself or added an extra track to himself, we got to hear some of that without the on top, the quote-unquote lead vocal part, the lead melody part. And that was actually probably the most interesting part of this backing track, getting to hear some of Freddie's lower harmonies and things of that nature. As far as everything else being buried, it's still, I didn't really hear much that I wouldn't have heard in the album track. But it is still worth a one-time listen to get to hear those like lower background vocals like by itself to get a real clear view on how they were developed and how they were layered. So very cool. I do like this one quite a bit. Well, right now is usually the time when I rate them on a scale of 1 to 11, because we always turn things up to 11 here on the PLD projects. But with the revisited tracks, I can't see any reason why it's going to up the number at all. Even the better version is still going to make the song, not going to make the song jump from like a 9 to a 9.5 or 10. And Great King Rat got a 9.5 originally, and I think it's going to stay a 9.5, unsurprisingly to anybody else here. So, but we do get to do the rankings of the versions. We had 4 before. Remember, I gave it to you before, the Lane Lea Demo. Live at the Rainbow 74, which we did not listen to this week at all. The album version, the BBC December 3rd, 1974 version. So where is the new ranking of the 8 versions we have now heard? All right, let's get right to it. First up, it's the backing track. Again, without the complete Freddie vocals, I don't see this being one I would ever put as the crown jewel. Next up is that Lane Lea Take 1 with the guide vocal for similar reasons. Again, we're not going to listen to, we want a complete version of the song. Next up, the Lane Lea version. That's the 2011 release. Then the Lane Lea 2024. So not terribly better, but still pretty cool to hear. Still definitely an improvement on the Lane Lea release for sure, but not any better than the other tracks, other versions of above. From there, we got the Live at the Rainbow 1974. Then we got the album version. So then which is it? Does the 2024 mix trump the BBC session? The BBC December 3rd session? Does we have a new champion, or does BBC hold tight? Well, folks, your winner. And no crown jewel is the 2024 mix. I do like the 2024 mix better than the album version, obviously, and it bumped it up so much that I actually kind of prefer it now to the BBC session version. Mainly because Freddie's vocals in the BBC session are not quite as strong as the 2024 mix. There are some interesting things musically going on in the BBC session, but the 2024 mix with the new drums really kind of blows it away as far as I'm concerned, and that's where we're going to have to... That's what I'm going to say is the crown jewel. What do you think, though, after listening to these? Am I crazy? Am I wrong? What do you think your crown jewel version is? Let me know in the comments. I always like to hear it. All right, that's going to do it for us, folks, this week. Like I said before, patreon.com/PLD Projects. Great crew like Austin Goodell, Brandon Buckingham. Wonderful crew. If you can. If you can't, I totally understand. But, do your best to help me out in other ways. Share, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. But next week, we're going to listen to... Well, we're going to, in deference to the Queen 1 box set, instead of going to My Fairy King, which is how it was released originally in 1973, this is where we're going to insert our episode on Mad the Swine, because the Queen 1 box set reinserts Mad the Swine and where it was supposed to be in the original track listing between Great King Rat and My Fairy King before it was cut entirely. So next week will be Mad the Swine here on PLD Project's Crown Jewels. Until then, well, may all your Great King Rats be small ones. All right, take care, guys.